Imagine a world turned upside down. A world where a beloved emperor vanishes without a trace, and his own uncle, a battle-hardened prince, marches on the capital with an army ready to burn it all down. This isn't a fantasy novel. This is the true story of one of China's most dramatic and brutal civil wars, the Jingnan Campaign. And it all starts with a family feud. At the dawn of the 15th century, the mighty Ming Dynasty, founded by the formidable Hongwu Emperor, faced its first great test. Hongwu, a man who rose from poverty to become the son of heaven, was obsessed with securing his family's legacy. He granted his sons vast territories and immense power, making them feudal princes. Among them, his fourth son, Zhu, the Prince of Yan, was the most brilliant and battle-tested. Stationed in the north, he was the empire's shield against the Mongol threat, a true warrior prince. But when the Hongwu Emperor passed away, the throne didn't go to any of his powerful sons. It went to his grandson, a young, idealistic scholar named Jianwen, who became the Jianwen Emperor. The Jianwen Emperor and his Confucian advisors looked at his powerful uncles, especially Zhu, and saw a threat. They believed these princes held too much power, their private armies a ticking time bomb at the heart of the empire. So they began a systematic campaign to strip them of their power, a policy known as reducing the feudatories. One by one, the princes were arrested, exiled, or forced into retirement. The net began to close around the most powerful of them all, Zhu, the Prince of Yan, in his northern capital, which we now know as Beijing. Zhu knew he was next. He saw his brothers fall and understood that his nephew in the distant southern capital of Nanjing was coming for him. What would you do? Bow to fate or fight for your life? Zhu chose to fight. He began to play a dangerous game. Publicly, he feigned madness, wandering the streets of his city, raving and babbling, hoping to convince his nephew's spies that he was no longer a threat. He was buying time. Secretly, behind the walls of his palace, he was preparing for war. He gathered his loyal generals, forged weapons, and drilled his elite troops. The tension was unbearable. Finally, in 1399, the breaking point came. The Jianwen Emperor sent imperial forces to arrest Zhu's subordinates. It was now or never. On a stormy night, Zhu launched his rebellion. He claimed he wasn't rebelling against the emperor, but was acting on the ancestral instructions of his father, the first emperor, to cleanse the court of treacherous officials who were misleading his young nephew. He called his campaign Jingnan, that is, quelling the troubles. It was a brilliant piece of propaganda, framing a civil war as a loyal act of house cleaning. The war had begun. On paper, it was a mismatch. The Jianwen Emperor had the legitimacy of the throne, the vast resources of the entire empire, and a massive central army. Zhu had only the forces of his northern domain. He was outnumbered and outfunded. But he had something the imperial court lacked: a lifetime of military experience, an army forged in the harsh northern frontier, and an unshakable will to win. The early years of the war were a brutal back and forth struggle. The imperial general, Li Jingguang, a man of noble birth but little real talent, led a colossal army to besiege Zhu's home base. But Zhu was a master of strategy. He used lightning-fast cavalry raids, surprise attacks, and psychological warfare to outmaneuver the larger, slower imperial forces time and again. He would personally lead charges into the heart of the enemy, his presence on the battlefield a terrifying and inspiring sight. While Li Jingguang fumbled, Zhu scored stunning victories, often against impossible odds. He was a whirlwind of military genius, but the war was taking a terrible toll on the country. Fields were burned, cities were sacked, and the land was soaked in the blood of Ming soldiers fighting Ming soldiers. It was a tragedy of epic proportions. The emperor in Nanjing, surrounded by his scholar officials, couldn't seem to grasp the true nature of his warrior uncle. They kept underestimating him, believing their moral and material superiority would eventually win out. By 1402, after 3 long years of fighting, the stalemate was about to be shattered. Zheng He made a decision so audacious, so risky, that it bordered on madness. Instead of continuing to fight over northern cities, he decided to bypass the main imperial armies and make a direct, all-or-nothing dash for the capital itself, Nanjing. It was an insane gamble. He was leaving his own territory vulnerable, marching his army deep into enemy territory with no supply lines. If he failed, he would be surrounded and annihilated. But the gamble paid off. The imperial court was thrown into chaos. They never expected him to get so close. As Zheng He's army approached the mighty Yangtze River, the last great barrier before the capital, a series of betrayals sealed the Jianwen Emperor's fate. Key imperial commanders, either out of fear or opportunism, defected. The fleet that was supposed to defend the river switched sides, giving Zheng He's army safe passage. The final defense of Nanjing collapsed. As Zheng He's forces stormed the city gates, a mysterious fire broke out inside the imperial palace. When the smoke cleared, several charred bodies were found, identified as the emperor, the empress, and their eldest son. Zheng He had won. He had conquered the empire. But the victory was tainted. He arrived at the palace, put on a show of weeping for his lost nephew, and then, after some theatrical reluctance, accepted the throne. He became the Yongle Emperor, a name that means perpetual happiness, but his reign began in blood. To secure his rule and erase the memory of his nephew, he launched a terrifying purge. Scholars, officials, and anyone who had been loyal to the Jianwen Emperor were brutally executed, often along with their entire families, friends, and even students. He was rewriting history with an iron fist. But what about the Jianwen Emperor? Was he really dead? This is where the story turns into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The official story was that he died in the palace fire. But rumors began to swirl almost immediately. Some said that he had managed to escape the burning palace disguised as a monk, a secret escape route prepared by his grandfather, the Hongwu Emperor, for just such a desperate occasion. Did he truly escape? For decades, tales spread of a wandering monk who bore a striking resemblance to the lost emperor traveling through the vastness of China. The Yongle Emperor himself seemed unconvinced of his nephew's death. He sent his most trusted admiral, the legendary Zheng He, not just to explore the world on his famous treasure voyages, but also, according to some accounts, to search for any sign of the fugitive emperor. He sent agents across the country, disguised as monks, to hunt for his predecessor. Why go to such lengths if he was certain his nephew was dead? The question haunts Chinese history to this day. Did the Jianwen Emperor live out his life in a remote monastery, watching from afar as his uncle ruled the empire he had lost? Or did he perish in the flames of his own palace, a tragic end to a short and troubled reign? We may never know for sure. What we do know is that the man who seized the throne, the Yongle Emperor, would go on to become one of China's most consequential rulers. He moved the capital to Beijing, built the magnificent Forbidden City, commissioned the Yongle Encyclopedia, the largest encyclopedia of its time, and launched the epic treasure voyages. He was a ruthless tyrant, but also a grand visionary. The Jingnan campaign is a timeless story of ambition, betrayal, and the brutal realities of power. It's a tale of a family that tore itself and its empire apart, leaving behind a legacy of incredible achievement, brutal violence, and a haunting, unsolved mystery. A story that proves, once again, that the most dramatic tales in history are the ones that are all too true. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of the Ming Dynasty. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to the Jianwen Emperor. We'll see you next time.